Yes. Hello and welcome to this week's Give Voice to Your Vision. I am very excited to have a very special guest to share her magnificence around speaking. Welcome, Leisa. We're so glad
Yay!
you're here. I'm going to make it official and introduce you properly. And then we're going to dive in today to answer some questions about getting booked, staying booked. Leisa's got a lot of value to share. You're going to hear how fabulous she is in just a second. So stick around if you're looking for speaking tips to get booked, stay booked, handle some of the logistics of it. And we have a lot of value for you here today. So welcome, Leisa. Leisa is a speaker who has booked and delivered over 600 talks. That's amazing. I'm just like, I already want to ask questions. She trains entrepreneurs how to get booked and stay booked as speakers. She is the founder of Get Speaking Gigs Now and the CEO of the International Speaker Network. Stay tuned. We get to find out more about that for sure. And she's passionate about teaching you how to get your talk ready to rock so that you can get on stage quickly and confidently. On our show, she's going to share one of her number one secrets to get speaking gigs. So, yay. Welcome, Leisa.
Oh, I'm so excited to be in your presence today.
Awesome. All right. Me too. Looks like we're going to we have a little technical difficulty in the studio, but that's fine. We can work that on the other end. So I'm ready to dive in. I'd love to get what's the number one thing that's always on your heart when you're talking to coaches, healers, speakers, entrepreneurs who, maybe they are speaking or they want to be speaking. What's that one thing, if you had them all in a room together, you'd really want them to know?
Well, one of the things that I find we do, even when we're the most intelligent, confident people, is sometimes we hoard our brilliance.
Nice.
And we keep
So
it
true.
secret and we're just a little shy about it, even though it's brilliant. So my cheer to everyone is share your brilliance. Like, stop hoarding, share it. Let's go.
I love that. And as I am in the visibility space as well and speaker space as well, I think that the closer we are to that song on our heart, the calling, the big message, our own expertise is often more vulnerable than speaking on behalf of a corporation or a company. So I think you're really spot on, of course, around that vulnerability that can come up when we're sharing our message. So I love that. So how do entrepreneurs know if speaking is the right marketing strategy for them and their business?
I think usually it's a combination of, if we were going to say, our head and our heart.
Nice.
Like, head wise, like, you want to make sure this makes sense for you. Is it a logical choice? Do you have the structure set up? Are you accepting payments? Do you have a model that's proven? And I don't mean you need to do it 100 times, but you've had clients, people have paid you for your services, you've heard good things. So that kind of success is what I'm talking about. And then we go to our heart and we're like, would we enjoy that? Would we even if we're scared, would we secretly really love to do that? Wouldn't that be so exciting? Like, oh, I could impact more people and go from one-to-one to one to many. And if that is buzzing inside you, that's definitely a ding, 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 probably a good idea to look at it. If you'd rather get a root canal, then you can do other things to market your business. You don't have to do this.
Absolutely.
But
I
for
love
a lot
that.
of people, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So how do we tune in? I think many people really long to be seen and heard, right? And so there's a whole, and my whole approach is inside out, like your head and heart, right? Where we long to be seen and heard, but then there's been so many ways we've kind of been told not to be, right? Yeah. We've been played small, or we've been ridiculed, or we're afraid of it, or we've been told to be seen and not heard. And so I love that question. If you're watching and listening right now, if you got really honest with yourself and really, really brave, is there that longing in your heart, like if it were easier and if you knew how to do it and if you could stand on a stage and speak and serve? And now we have virtual stages too. If that little calling is touching on your heart, then I'm with Leisa and would encourage you to get the tools, the support, that you need to step into that, because if you're holding a little dream back, everything is compromised, right? You're holding part of your self-expression back. So sharing that message, stepping forward into that, is going to grow more than just your speaking. It's going to grow your prosperity and your everything. So thank you. That's great. So say we want to be a speaker. How do we do it? What do you recommend to like get a gig? What do we need to have before? How do we
I'm a huge fan of getting ready to be ready. And I think
Nice.
that's not talked about enough. Like people are like, well, how do I get on stages? I'm like, well, we start at the beginning. It's just like Julie Andrews says, we start at the very beginning, a very good place to start, right? And I'm not the singer in this duo here, but
no, I love it. Everybody sings.
And so creating your talk is to me like base camp. It's difficult. It's not impossible, but difficult to get booked when you aren't solid on like, this is your signature talk, because the first moment you step out there saying, I'm a speaker, or, oh, could I be a speaker at your event? The very next question they're going to ask you is, what do you speak about? And that, how you answer that energetically, verbally, in an email is a do or die moment. Because if you don't answer because you don't have an answer yet, they're going to be like, oh, I thought we were maybe going to have them speak, but maybe they are disorganized. Maybe they're not ready. You know, it starts to wane on the confidence of the booker. So we really want to hit the ground running when we're at that opportunity. Strike while the iron's hot. So getting your talk ready to rock, that's how I phrase it, is super critical. It's going to help your confidence. You're going to feel empowered. You can't wait. When I'm done with people in those sessions, you can't wait to tell the world about what you've got going on. So it's like, oh, this is my baby. You have to see my baby, and you're going to be in love with your baby.
I love that. And so much happens energetically when you have that clarity and that confidence. And sometimes I think having the sounding board, I work on messaging all day long with everybody, right? And sometimes we can't hear our own message. So having somebody that can help pull that out of you is a really good idea. I love that. And then what? If we've got our talk ready to rock and we've got our thing, what's the first thing we should do?
And you just stick it in a drawer and never look at it again. No, I'm just kidding. Right. You don't do that. Yeah.
Don't do
never
that.
Tell anybody. Yeah. So then you're like, oh, okay. Now the juices are flowing. Mm-hmm. I think it's especially helpful to start with a little bit of a wish list or a list that's around you, near you. Look at your local area. If you live in a place where there's business being done or meetings being held, not everybody lives in a vibrant city area. But if you do, that's an easy place to start. Just like, who do I know? What's already around me? What's close? Because our nervous system is like, okay, that's a little comfy, not too scary. It's like we're going into the shallow end with the floaties on. It's all good, right? You can still get high paying clients right in your backyard. You don't have to worry about this huge, big stage. But it does start with telling the universe, like, here's what I'm looking for. Here's what I want. And there's it's the good news, bad news. There's tons of speaking engagements. So you don't have to worry if you're already like, where could I possibly get a speaking engagement? They're everywhere. They're everywhere. Once you have the blinders off, you'll start to see them everywhere. Then it's like, where do I want to speak? Where would my ideal audiences be? And that might be different. Like if you're a medical doctor, it might mean you're speaking at certain conferences versus if you're a realtor or a lawyer or a life coach or an author. Like it's going to depend on who your ideal clients are.
I love that. And what you want. I love that. So you're talking about really speaking for business growth, just to be clear, if people aren't picking up on that, we're talking about speaking for business growth. You've said to like stay, let the comfort zone, not the comfort zone, but your nervous system rather kind of take the baby steps, find the easy baby steps. I love that too. And that there are speaking gigs everywhere. You also touched on being ready for those speaking gigs, and especially for the conversation, right? For having that answer and having that presence with your booker, and finding, those easy ways to start to stay in more of your confidence zone and then grow as you go, which I love. So we're talking about speaking for business growth, and sometimes that could be paying to speak and sell, or it could be being paid to speak, right? Or it could be speaking for free in order to get clients. Do
Mhm.
you focus in particular on one of those areas?
For myself, I am always speaking to an ideal audience with an ideal talk, with an ideal offer that would attract ideal clients. That's my zone. Whether there's money ahead of time, during, middle, after exchange,
Mm-hmm.
that's not my main focus. My main focus is, am I in the right room with the right message, with the right offer? And I will say the same thing for my clients. Some of my clients are going to be more set up for a paid speaking engagement, and that is in line with their goals and how their business is set up. Some of
Mm-hmm.
my clients are going to be more on the, I'm here to build my list and attract clients, and the paid
Mm-hmm.
part doesn't really is not really a factor. Oftentimes you can make more money when you're able to give an offer, even if it's a free offer. You can make $30,000 an hour. That's more than you're probably going to get as a speaker fee,
Right.
even
Most
as an
people.
advanced speaker. Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
if you're positioned correctly, I like to think of it as monetizing your speaking,
Yeah.
regardless
Yeah.
of your, if you're pay to play is what we'll say in the industry. I'm not against that, but I am against it if you're not ready. If you don't have a
Yeah.
proven model, I think sometimes we can get, no, that's not what you asked me, but I'll share.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people on the internet who will gladly take your money, even
Yeah.
if you are not set up for success in that area. So
Yeah.
I really strongly advise against looking very intimately at the details if that is
If
coming
it's
across
pay
your
to
plate.
play. I agree. I've seen it go really poorly for people who invest $5,000, $10,000, and they're not prepared with a talk that sells. They don't have their offer. They don't have
Yeah.
that proven track record. So yeah, I agree with you too, 100%. If we're speaking on behalf of our message, that we want it to be tied to the revenue and profitability for our business, and that none of those specific examples are required. But you want to know, you've said it a couple of times, what's your offer? And that doesn't necessarily, I think, you tell me what you think, mean that we're making an offer right there, right? So
Right.
there's some
It
other,
could mean
we're
so
positioning.
many
You want to
different
talk a
things.
little
Yeah.
about that?
Yeah, I actually call it a monetization menu because just like if you had a restaurant, I mean, they have multiple things on their menu. And then sometimes there's like a secret menu or the chef's menu or a specials, or, you're a regular and they do something special for you. So
Mm-hmm.
as an entrepreneur, as a speaker, you want to have a menu set. It doesn't mean you need to show it to everybody,
Mm-hmm.
but you want to go, okay, I've intentionally, consciously decided this is my menu when I speak. If it's a free offer, if it's a paid offer, if it's a whatever offer you want to give, a lead list building offer, you have those dialed in. And you don't need to have all of those done when you just get started, but you do want to have at least one, at least one.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're starting, I would say start with the offer that's the easiest, the one you can do the quickest, and the one that brings you clients. So if
Nice.
that means a discovery call for a lot of coaches, that's really common.
Mm-hmm.
Um, or maybe a lead magnet of some sort, that's also
Mm-hmm.
common.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you. And I think having our business model and our offers, streamlined and dialed in and simplified so that we can plug and play the right thing for the right opportunity is important, even before we're creating that talk,
Yeah.
right? That
Yeah.
signature talk has to position the work that you do. And any tips to share about that in particular?
Yeah. Actually, I mean, I'm a reverse engineer gal, just like
Me
you. And
too.
so
Reverse
yes.
engineer.
And so when I start someone with the Get Your Talk Ready to Rock session, we start at the end first and the beginning is last. And so
Always
the
love
title
it.
will be last. We'll start workshopping the title as we're talking, but we start with the offer, we end with the title. Because how can you name a title of a talk that you haven't even created yet? You don't
Yeah.
know what the title's going to be, but you do know where you want to take people. And I often refer to it as like a tour. Like if you signed up to get kissed by the dolphins, but you ended up at a volcano, you would not be happy person. You want to make sure that they are getting what they are promised and
Yeah.
that you're getting them safely there to the end.
I love that. I love that. And I think that having those offers for our business model dialed in and knowing how to articulate those in the language of our clients, and knowing how we're building all of our visibility around them is important, so that it stays, top of mind for them, right? When we're speaking, we're serving our business, but it's always about the value to the audience, right?
Agreed. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a balance. I know
Mhm.
you didn't ask me a question, but I'll just chime in.
No, I was just about to say, what do you
So
think?
when we so we've been in those situations where we felt completely sold to the whole time and we're like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I need to take a shower after this, right? So we don't want that.
Yeah.
But also, and this is really common, you've probably seen this too, with especially really heart-centered, purpose-driven people
Yes.
who maybe never sold before. They're on the opposite side where they give so much, the audience
Yes.
is so full, and then they didn't really actually give an offer, or it was really loose or confusing or an afterthought. And so you're like, they walk away and you're like, that was an amazing person, and I don't remember their name, and I don't know how to get a hold of them, and I don't
Yeah.
know. And so we don't want that. That both of those are out of balance. So we want
Right.
to like weave in the balance of giving all that value and giving value to our business. It's that
Mhm.
beautiful
Yeah.
reciprocity.
So what's a simple way speakers can attract ideal clients without being creepy and pushy?
Yeah, without the ick factor.
Without the
Um,
it.
yeah, one of the things that I love is something called client confession stories. And
Mm.
so you combine a client confession with a story because you're talking about a real situation.
Yeah.
You don't need to name any names. You could keep it super generic so that, no one's privacy is
Anonymity is
violated.
broken. Yeah.
Yes. And when I used to say client solve, how you used to solve problems, but really when someone is becoming your client, they aren't your client yet, but they are confessing what's going on and what's
Yeah.
wrong. And
Yeah.
an audience, of course, is going to want to hear a story, and a
Mhm.
confession is like, oh, like I want to hear that thing. What did they
Yeah.
confess? So, for example, a short example, you can make them long or you can make them short, but a short example would be a client came to me, super confident, amazing leader. She leads these incredible workshops that everybody loves, but she confessed to me she didn't know how long she was going to be doing it anymore because it wasn't making the money that she needed it to make.
Yeah.
We looked at everything under a microscope and realized where she was hiding.
Yeah.
And he needed to authentically, as you're totally going to get this, like authentically go, okay, here's how I can offer my offer without feeling like I'm taking or pressuring, because she was so wanting to give. And so when we came to that conclusion, she could do that. She made $18,000 in instant sales, no strategy calls even. So that's how powerful the client confession story can be. Sometimes people call it a case study, but I like my version better.
Yeah. Well, it's a little bit more titillating to say the
Yeah.
true confessions. I like that. And people do like to look at that negative, and it also lets them see themselves, right? So there's plenty, I work with plenty of mid 6, 7 figure entrepreneurs who maybe are struggling with cash flow, or maybe the market's changed, or maybe they've fallen into a rut, or maybe they've had team kerfuffles, or maybe they just want to do something different, but there's a vulnerability there. And so when our audience can see themselves, it's easier than having it like pointed out about themselves, pointed
Agreed.
out
Yeah.
about them. So it's like once removed. So what's the biggest obstacle you think aspiring speakers, or even speakers that are wanting to like rev it up, face right now? And what do we do
It's
to overcome
something
it?
I call speaker's kryptonite, which
Mm.
is, our shows up in lots of different ways. We might be
Mm.
avoiding, we might be suffering from perfectionitis, comparisitis, not enoughness. I have to do this thing before I have to write a book before I do it. I have to write a course. I have to do video, whatever. There's
Update
all
my
these different
website, do my
distractions.
speaker reel.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. All the things. It has to be perfect or have a script. So there's all these little busy distractions that can keep us from sharing our message. And it's to protect us and keep us safe. We know this. But when we really face it, we're like, okay, wait a second. What am I doing to keep my message safe and protected and in the drawer? And how can I be honest with myself and look at
What
that?
support do I need to do it too,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
I mean, I come from a performance background, and I know for sure I've done a lot of directing talks, Broadway to the boardroom. I had a performance studio for years, and we, having every great performance has a great director, right? So having somebody that can help you and be a sounding board to do that is important. And this idea that we're playing small to play it safe is super counterproductive, right? Because we're back to where we started, where we're withholding a part of ourselves. We're withholding our prosperity, our opportunities, our connection, our health and well-being. And so I love how you're talking about kind of, I call it an honest inventory, right? Like, let's pull the pieces apart and really look at everything. Do I need to look at my sales process? Do I need to look at my offer language? Do I need to look at the visibility I'm using, right? And in your case, how are we showing up? Where could we play bigger? And that you've also touched on something so important in the heartfelt space, heart-led space of really wanting to be all of service and being very uncomfortable with being direct about inviting and value and holding it. I was just on with my Visibility Success Accelerator people, and we were working, and these are many of them mid six-figure people wanting to systematize and create more revenue in an easier way. And there's still this little small tweaks that can help us we have to find our own way to it. You've touched on that, like our aligned way, and it's customized, right? It's not follow this template. This template may be like, oh yeah, this is perfect for me, for somebody, right? So I think it's so important because we can minimize that, or we're often sold so many different programs, templates, tools, tactics. And to your point about reverse engineering, sometimes we're not being asked the questions that will help us make all the decisions to have that thing work. Yeah. So I love your approach of reverse engineering and that inside outness of what's on your heart and where are you holding back and how could you, what are those small shifts that make such a big difference?
Absolutely.
I love it. So what do you think, what are we doing to overcome that? We touched on it a little bit. Anything else that you would say about how do we overcome the itises?
Yeah. When I think of the speaker's kryptonite and all the itises, I think of discovering it, like what we're talking about, the honest inventory, and then diagnosing it. Like, okay, what do I know about myself that would be different, or where did that come from? Let me just take a moment and see, is this an old story? Is this something new?
Nice.
What's going on here? So we're just giving it a moment to have its voice, because that's important. It's like throwing a temper tantrum, which is us, we're throwing an adult temper tantrum basically, but it's really quiet.
Or we're not, and we're just sitting on top of it and it's simmering underneath and we can't move.
Exactly. Either way, we're just not handling it the best way possible. And then dissolving it, okay, now that I see where it came from, what's going on, what else do I know about myself that's an antidote for that? Maybe it's well, I'm connected to, a divine power, or I'm, I can always rely on myself because I do X, Y, and Z, whatever that is, a very personal message to yourself that, oh, this is a truth I can anchor in when I'm in that space, when I'm not, when I'm hiding or distracted or whatever.
Yeah. You're speaking right to my frequency factor approach, which is that inside outness. And do you think that there's a place so if we can do those steps that you've beautifully outlined, right? First of all, we are honest with ourselves, and then there's a diagnosis, and then there's a prognosis, right? And what do we do? Do you think that there's whatever practices or support or mentoring or processes we use to kind of handle the inner game? Do you think that there's a component where we actually also have to implement?
Oh yeah, definitely.
At the same time.
100%. Yeah. I always say, you could have the best talk in the world, but if nobody hears it, it does not going to make an impact. So there's all these beautiful parts to it, but there's also action. That we kind of rewind the tape back earlier when we were talking about creating the list. And it's you could have the list, and you need to actually talk to people or say,
how do they become a client?
Or how do they, if you're getting booked, if you're getting booked to speak, you'll have to communicate somehow with somebody who's going to agree to have you on stage. So what systems need to be in place for that? And we help with all that too.
I love that. So what's the first step someone should take if they feel called to speak, but they're not sure where to start?
I definitely think deciding on what you're going to talk about is really good. I mean, of course, you and I are both experts in that. Someone can always reach out to me for that. and we're going to give you some, I think we're going to give a free.
Yeah, we're going to give you access to actually attend one of your events. I think you're giving us a free ticket, right?
Yeah, it's going to be great.
Oh, exciting.
Yeah, so you can literally be in a room with a bunch of people who would be there to cheer you on and collaborate and support your goals to get out there.
So tell us about the International Speaker Network and what we can do when we join. And if you're watching live or you come back and watch the replay, as soon as we're done talking, I'm going to come back to, we're on 3 platforms right now. So I'm going to come back and make sure you have the link, super easy access in the comments under this live video. What is the International Speaker Network and what do we get when we come?
Well, one of the things that you get is visibility into other people's audiences. We also invite podcast hosts and event coordinators and planners, and quite a few community leaders are in our community as well. So they have speaking engagements, and there's a spot in the meeting literally where they are going to come up and say, I need speakers for X, I need speakers for Y, I need podcast guests for this, for that. And they are putting those links in the chat. So right away, even if you're visiting, you will get access to that. I had a meeting earlier this week and someone was a guest and she's like, oh my gosh, I didn't know what to expect, but I wasn't expecting to get all these opportunities right away. And so we don't hold back at the International Speaker Network. We are a community of entrepreneurs, business owners, professionals who are actively either desiring or already currently using speaking as a way to generate clients and leads.
I love it. That's so exciting. Thank you for sharing that guest pass, that free ticket with the community. We'll make sure everyone gets it. So at the beginning, we were touching on like, what is that one thing that you'd really want anyone who's thinking about becoming or speaking? We touched on like, if it's on your heart, kind of stepping into that and getting whatever support you need to do it. What would you say to the I've spent a lot of money on programs. I'm in the speaker bureaus. I'm paying tens of thousands of dollars to get the reel and I'm trying to have everybody pay to get it going, but it's not going. Do you have any pro tips for how people can kind of simply and directly line up and get more momentum in their speaking gigs?
You know, for me, I think a lot of it is there's so many things I can say about that, but
I kind of said a lot of the things I think about while I was asking the question.
It's a journey. And what I have found is that not any speaker is at the same spot in their journey. Mm-hmm. So when they come into my orbit, I'm like, okay, let's see what you have and what needs to happen, what holes are in the boat, and how do we get there simply, easily, quickly? What can we do now with what you have? I'm a scrapper. I grew up in Fairbanks, Alaska, and like I used to love going to garage sales and thrift store. Like I can make stuff out of nothing. And so it's like, okay, let's see what you have and what do we actually need? And
to get really started, but then to grow, right?
Yeah. Because it's different phases depending on where you are. My first speaking engagement, I didn't have anything fancy. I didn't have a speaker sheet. I didn't even know what one was. My first year, I booked 83 speaking engagements simply from cold calling. I don't love that method. In fact, I have a way to avoid cold call. I book now 40 gigs a year with no cold calling because of the speaker network. But so I think it's just kind of putting yourself out there and having all your ducks in a row, but knowing which ducks to get in rows and when to budget is important. And that's going to be different for each person.
Have you seen any like one or two kind of like key things when people have kind of built all the infrastructure, but they're not getting the gigs? Is there any insight, any patterns or things that you've seen when people have like got all this infrastructure, but they're
I think sometimes we can think we need all the fancy stuff before we actually do the thing. And it's almost like I could equate it to reading about swimming, but never getting in the pool. Like you could have the best bathing suit and read the best books and talked about it for hours. But until you get in the water, you are not a swimmer. You don't know how to swim yet. So
I love that. I mean,
get out there and do it.
I love that. And that's how I teach video, right? Because video can be magnifying everything. It's so close up. Molecules behave differently under observation. So if we're speaking, we feel different. We know it. We know when we're being looked at, and the camera seems to magnify that. And you talked earlier about getting ready to be ready. And so we can only get ready to be ready for so long, right? We need to jump off the high dive to mix all my analogies together, all the different things we've talked about, right? So finding and identifying at whatever level, sometimes I think it's like going into a bigger pond that can like kickstart not only your strategy and your opportunity, but wherever you've gotten habituated to whatever size you are, right? You talked about being in that comfortable enough place, but sometimes I think, for example, when I've got all the bells and whistles, but I don't have my revenue model dialed in and my sales going, then I can be very busy with all the bells and whistles, and I've spent a lot of money on them. So I really want to like get my value. And yet the proof is in the pudding when whatever it is that I'm doing for my visibility is generating leads and sales. So to your point about having a client, when we started, like you have clients, you have that process dialed in. And you don't have to, you can use speaking from the very beginning, right? But you want to know how that speaking is going to lead to not only a lead, right? But to an actual client signing up. And that doesn't have to take a long time. You don't have to have a program and a signature, everything and all of that figured out.
You don't have to have a logo. You don't have to have a speaker reel. You don't have anything.
Right. Branding.
You literally walk up. Yeah. And so that's that. Like I had my very first talk and there were 10 people in the room. I was booked by somebody who knew me. I cold called her and I said, hey, do you know anyone who needs a speaker? And she's like, I do. And I'm like, oh my gosh, so that was easy. And she booked me. She didn't know it was my first talk. I got 3 clients instantly out of 10 with a piece of paper and an easel and some markers. You know what I'm saying? So you don't have to be in this huge room to get clients.
I agree. And you know what I'm going to say too, just in our beautiful, I love AI, but AI is real world, is that when it's a little bit raw and organic and real, I think it goes a long way in today's world. Having a simple good Google Doc or a simple, there's a very big speaking company that you may have seen ads for. And one of their webinars is their leader, and he's mostly just talking and telling stories. And he's got a flip chart behind him where he stops and he writes some stuff with a marker on a whiteboard. And so I would put a plug in for keeping it really simple, on purpose sometimes to allow people that transparency and that connection. Leisa, what a treat. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to share. I'm going to come back and make sure that there's a link under all of the places where we have shared this lovely live interview. Any final words of wisdom that you would share for those listening now or on the replay to empower their speaking dreams?
Well, I would just say, share your brilliance. Don't be a hoarder.
Don't be a hoarder. Share your brilliance. I love it. Right. Give voice to your vision. All right. Thank you so much for being here, Leisa. Thanks for watching. If this has been valuable for you, we're going to come back. We're going to make sure you get a link to a free ticket to Leisa's International Speaker Network, and the words stop for a minute, and share this link to this video with somebody who wants to be a speaker on your favorite platform. We're sharing Leisa's brilliance. She's very good at this. She has a lot to offer, and we want, my message is to unleash the power of the human voice on the planet. And speaking is one of the best ways you have to do it. And so if you or someone is looking to step in and share your brilliance, it's in there and you want it to come out to that next level, whatever it is, share the good word. And we'll see you on next week's Give Voice to Your Vision. Thanks, Leisa.